All right, hi everyone. Today I'm here with Shagg Makino, an alum of the class of 1983, and I'm going to ask him some questions about his time at uni and also what he's done outside of uni. All right, so my first question is what did you do after graduating from uni?
So immediately after, I went to the University of Illinois, as many students do. I studied computer science there, and my intention or my hope was to get into the investment industry.
And did you always know you wanted to do something finance related?
Always know, but I was really lucky that when I was about 14 or thereabouts, I had a friend who had then a friend who made a lot of money on Exxon getting steel. He shot me down for in an afternoon and just kind of explained how things work. And so every afternoon I would call in my brother, hey, what's the price of that steel? And then we would get the Wall Street Journal up in the library every afternoon. So I was pretty hooked.
Do you hear someone talking, or is that just my computer?
Oh, it might be the announcer because I'm at I'm at the World Serial Games. It's called the Huntsman, which is why I started
Oh,
the
is that
Zoom
for
call
track?
with yeah. So that's why the Zoom call started off with the national anthem.
Oh, okay. I was wondering why I was looking at the Utah track.
Here's the view. See,
Wow.
it's beautiful here. Yeah, St. George, Utah.
That's actually a good segue for what I wanted to ask next. What activities did you do at uni? And do you still do some of the activities in your adult life?
Yes, so I mean, I was very big into the sports. I was always fast, and I wasn't very good at basketball, but I played varsity basketball anyway because it was uni. Any other team, I think it would have not made the team. But yeah, track and field has continued on. I mean, I don't know if it continued on. I wasn't good enough to run Division 1 track, but then as in my early 40s, we had this competition internally at my company, and I threw in track, a 400-meter race, and I beat them in the 400. And so people were like, oh, you should compete, you should compete. So that got me into master's track, and that's when I returned to it in my early 40s.
And I guess what is your most memorable moment from your time as a student?
And there's so many memorable moments. Oh my God, I think the most memorable moment was, referring back to that basketball thing.
Mm,
When I first came to uni, there was a long, long losing streak that had already been ongoing, years before I arrived.
yeah.
And, it was so bad that the local news channel would come in hoping that we were about to break the national record for the most losses in a row. And so finally, in my first year playing basketball, we won. And I remember the next day, Mr. Royer, who was the principal back then, served pizza for all the students, We finally had that monkey off our back. We didn't have somebody trying to report us to breaking the national record for losses in a row. I'm glad the team has improved since then, but yeah.
And I actually wanted to ask you more about your experience as an investment banker. I know that there's a lot of conversation about how cutthroat it is and how a lot of people quit after a year. How was your experience with that?
For me, it was a little bit of the work-life balance or the control that you had or didn't have, and I think it's important for you to obviously we know that compensation in consulting or investment banking is quite high relative to other opportunities, but what you don't always realize are the restrictions on your life or the non-working part of your life that you have because of how intense the work element is. I was lucky because I went to investment management instead of investment banking. So what we call the buy side instead of the sell side. And the buy side definitely has way more control over your schedule and your life than the sell side. I was probably working 70, 75 hours a week for the entirety of my career for 20 years. But the investment bankers are a step beyond that. And so I think, and I could determine my schedule, when I traveled, where I traveled, and et cetera, and the course of my day. It wasn't something comes up and then you're forced to, change everything to make sure that you can satisfy those needs. So
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you did retire pretty young. How has your experience post retirement? And I read that you were a guest lecturer at Cornell's MBA school. How was that experience, and how did you get that? Was it they reached out to you, or was it some sort of exchange program?
I don't know, your retirement's kind of like uni high. And all of a sudden I have the opportunity to vet a lot of different potential passions. I don't know, I already had passions before I retired. So, my first advice is don't retire unless you already have some passions in your life. So otherwise you're going to get bored to death.
Yeah.
So I already had traveling, I already had track and field. So those were, and investments too, just on my own. So those three things were more than enough, I thought, to venture out and then pursue other passions. So I've tried fencing, I've tried running marathons, I've tried endurance kind of events and so on. So I've never looked back since I retired. In terms of teaching, even while I was still working, I would kind of guest lecture, be on some panels for Cornell and Harvard and so on. And then I just realized that that was something that I would enjoy doing when I retired. And so that's what I did. So it's something that I really enjoy, something that I was lucky enough to find a good role in. Cornell was a great outlet.
Probably like the last thing I kind of wanted to ask you about was like the Makino grant, because I actually applied for the Makino grant like
Okay.
months ago, and like it got approved and we had this whole thing. What were your hopes for like establishing that grant?
I just wanted to give back. I'm sure you, like me, when I was there, I realized, funding was a key constraint for uni high. I just realized we needed it, and we needed it in different elements. And that's why the Makino Fund originally, and I don't know if it's still carried out this way, but I had one for extracurricular, one for the teachers, and one for the students. So that all those avenues had an outlet to maybe gain some.
Last question. So my project is called like Behind the Handprint, because like a unique tradition is like putting your handprint on the wall. Did you have a handprint? Because I know
I did. I can't find it anymore though.
Oh, okay. Where was it?
It was, if you enter the lounge, it was on the left hand side. If you curled around, it was on the left hand side. But I cannot.
There's like a million in there now.
Exactly, and I feel like some of them get printed over or whatever. So anyway, yeah.
And that's all I have. Thank you so much for like interviewing with me. All right, thank you so much. All right.
All right, Heidi.
Have
Pleasure.
a good day.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.